Nigerians are looking up to President Muhammadu Buhari on the signing of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. By failing to assent to the bill and communicate same to the National Assembly within the stipulated time by the Constitution, President Muhammadu Buhari might have resolved to sign the bill forwarded to him by the legislature on November 19, 2021. Although some of the governors of the ruling All Progressive Congress, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, as well as other party stakeholders, were still against the electoral bill as passed by the National Assembly, failing to clearly reject the bill as demanded of him by the Constitution and communicate the decision has left the country with the hope that President Buhari will sign the bill ultimately. However, if he fails to do that, the Nigerian law enables the National Assembly to veto him and pass the bill into law. But again, many Nigerians do not think that the Ninth Assembly of elected lawmakers can muster enough strength to do just that. Dr. Abati, your take on this?
Well, look, I've seen some mealy-mouthy headlines in the papers today, and I'm waiting for Ifeni to come as a director of this day newspaper and to ask him, to say frontally to him, truthfully, that this your headline this day, this morning is mealy-mouthy. And I hope the editor will not be angry with that. Because I've seen an attempt to justify what the president has done so far. Look, according to the Interpretation Act, as Michael Zekome, ex-CN, pointed out yesterday, the deadline for the president to sign or reject the bill expired 12 midnight this morning. Okay? He cannot sign after that time. So saying that the president still has time, he can still sign, he did it in the past, no. The president of Nigeria swore to an oath to respect the law, to defend the law, to promote the rule of law. If he fails to do it, he has failed to do it. So he's not signing, giving his assent to that Electoral Act Amendment Bill as at this moment amounts to a rejection of that bill. If he offers any further explanations after that, that will be an afterthought, okay? The second part of it is that, yes, if that happens, if the National Assembly is faced with such a situation, can the National Assembly now go ahead and say we are vetoing the president? That's a source of anxiety because Ahmed Lawan, that's the Senate president, made it very clear that the assembly that he leads is an assembly that will support President Muhammadu Buhari, okay? Even if the bill is to be represented, repackaged, and all of that, then, of course, the issue will arise. Will it get the majority? Considering the fact that there's an APC problem and a political party problem attached to this matter, because, we should also be mindful of the reaction of other political parties. So here we are. We don't have an Electoral Act Amendment Bill signed into law. And there are critical issues raised there. A lot of people focus on direct primaries, indirect primaries, but there are other issues about electronic transmission of results, about balloting and the process and all of that. Okay, what is the issue? What Nigerians want is an electoral process that will be transparent, that will be truthful, that will have integrity. And these are the key issues that led to this process. In 2018, we failed to do it. The government gave the excuse that it was too close. Some of the reforms that were being asked for could not have happened. Now, the APC and their own internal politics, I don't think they should hold Nigeria to a ransom on the basis of their own differences between maybe the National Assembly members and the other stakeholders within the process. And to those who would like to say, Abati is making a partisan comment. This is not a partisan comment. This is an intelligent comment. I don't like dim-witted people, trying to twist what I say, either on television or in print. What all of us face is to deal with this issue of the electoral process, ensure that it's credible, put an electoral framework in place that works in the interest of everybody and that the president himself is committed to. because ensuring a credible process in 2023 will be one of the major legacies that President Buhari will leave behind. Yesterday, we had Michael Zekome SON. Let me go back to him on the program, this Day Live, the Sunday talk show. And he was talking about Section 4 of the Constitution, which grants the legislature the powers to make laws. He talked about Sections 58 and 59, which both grant the legislature, the National Assembly, the powers to veto the president. We have reached a stage now of veto. That's what we should be discussing. Not that the president will retroactively or imaginatively, decide on what he wants to do. Now, the other point, of course, has to do with the Interpretation Act, which Michael Zekome referred to yesterday. But in law, you can get 3 opinions. Yeah. Everything will be interpreted from everywhere. But at the end of the day, it's the truth that should prevail in this matter. Nigerians want an electoral process that is clean, that is transparent, that is credible, and that the people can be proud of. I think Nigerians by now must be tired of an electoral process that produces the 30-11. I think what they want is for credible people, the best and the brightest, to come forward, a condensation of ideas, a current of thought, that is at the highest level. Not all these, characters going about saying they want to serve Nigeria, and they have no idea. They don't even read newspapers.
One thing is certain, all those that said this might just be like 2018, and they argued and they posited all this while, just maybe they might be right, because we have passed the deadline already. But most importantly, like everybody has said, we would like to see the democratic theater that will go on between a National Assembly that has no business being called rubber stamp to veto the president at a point in time like this. It's going to be democratic theater. And for the very first time in a long time, it behoves on the National Assembly to show that they are truly representatives of the people. It behoves on the National Assembly to go in line with separation of power, to know that the legislature is an arm of government. It behoves on the National Assembly to do the needful. According to the law, there's a 12 o'clock a.m. deadline this morning. That deadline has been passed. The National Assembly, we're waiting on you.
Yes,
as simple as
separation
that.
of powers, Baron Montesquieu, 1748. Let's see how it plays out in Nigeria.
All right, that's all on News Headline. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Road to Diri, Michael Wilson to give us updates on Africa, global business across the globe. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Our dependable Rotus Odiri is here now to give us Africa Business Update. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning,
I did not see you at Aaron's wedding.
Yes, I sold my Ashwebi. I got everything. It's just conditions, Doctor. I couldn't make it.
Yeah,
But
I know you are bereaved.
Yes,
our condolences.
Thank you so much,
First time
Doctor.
I'm seeing you since your mommy passed on.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Rufai, good morning to you. Good morning to all our viewers.
You're holding up, bro.
Yes, indeed. We kick off with First Bank. First Bank, of course, has its third chair this year now, 2021. The gentleman on your left, Mr. Remy Babalola, on the left-hand side of your screen, resigned as non-executive director and chairman of the bank. He was appointed back in April of this year when the central bank reshuffled management, removed Oba Tudekov, of course, as the chair following the management reshuffle, and then they instated him. So after 7 months, he apparently wrote a letter to his fellow directors stating that, well, due to certain new developments, he has officially resigned his position. It's apparently not. It could be, connected to the leadership, or rather ownership, of the bank, with Femi Otedola, of course, appearing as with a shareholding of 7.5%. 5% now. The gentleman to your right of the screen is who the central bank has appointed to replace him, Alhaji Abdullahi. Now, Alhaji Abdullahi, of course, on the right-hand side of your screen, he's an economist. He actually just concluded his tenure as head of banking supervision at the central bank in 2020, last year. And so he, as of Friday, according to Mr. Osita Owanisobi, who is the CBN's head of corporate communications, he has now been appointed as the new chair of FBN First Bank Holdings. Mr. Remi Babalola on your left-hand side of your screen, who, of course, former Minister of State for Finance, former executive director at First Bank of Nigeria, well experienced in auditing and a number of other matters. So, again, the central bank did express their disappointment that he had resigned, saying that the CBN, of course, according to its mandates, had tried to put in structures for transparency, corporate governance, and so on and so forth. So that's the latest coming from FBNH Holdings. Still on the CBN, now we talk about wheat. The central bank is disbursing about 41 billion naira through Heritage Bank for the wheat value chain for wheat farmers. Ahead of dry season, Central Bank Governor Gordon Emefiele said, that I think we only produce about 63,000 metric tons out of 5 to 6 million metric tons that's consumed. I think that's less than 1%. There's also about $2 billion annually that's from wheat that is on our import bill. So Heritage Bank is the vehicle through which this 41 billion in assistance for the wheat value chain is going to be disbursed. I think after rice and maize or so. Maize is like the third most consumed grain in the country. So again, it's part of the need to try to get, backward integration, need to get more production of wheat in Nigeria. There's a big gap that needs to be filled. To entertainment, Tems, artist Tems has signed a deal with Tommy Hilfiger. I think she follows Wizkid. I understand it's a big branding deal that she signed with the company. They post that first image you just saw was from the Instagram page of Tommy Jeans. So she's now a brand ambassador for the company. So again, as far as Nigerian artists moving forward, this is the type of deals that they need that assist them in longevity for finances, going beyond their performances and album sales and so on. Finally, Ghana. Ghana doesn't release unemployment data on a regular basis. They only release it when they do their census. So according to their census, it's almost a growth of 3x, 5.4% in 2020. Actually, it was 5.4% in 2010, excuse me, it's 13.4% now in 2021. So Ghana's unemployment rates, 24.7 million people in 2010, now about 30.8 million people in 2010. Ghana's unemployment, with population growth and so on, increase in the labor force, their unemployment has grown. But as you said, Rufai, in the past, we need more frequent data for this type of metrics.
We need more frequent data, but something is not really well, with the economy in Ghana. There's been a lot of pressures on the economy recently, albeit increased by the COVID-19 pandemic, but also a lot of people will go back to the policies of the incumbent president, Nana Akufo-Addo, and they're saying it's not trickling across the economy. So let's see how it fixes the problem. First Bank, I think the drama continues in First Bank. First Bank gave us good drama on TV. The very first time we had the CBN brief, live on TV about a bank was about First Bank, and we know major changes. 3 chairmen in the course of a week. Market watchers are looking at what is happening in First Bank. We just hope this pounds away and the bank stabilizes. But just a little bit about Remi Babalola. Remi Babalola used to be former Minister of State for Finance. I think in living memory is the only minister of state or the only minister in this country that has resigned the position because he did resign out of the government. He churned out the paper the government didn't like then, and he says, you know what, this is my points and this is my position. Good one for Nigerian artists. Davido over the weekend, I think, signed a deal with Puma.
Okay.
The German sportswear outfit. Tems doing Tommy Hilfiger. It just shows that our Nigerian brands are getting international acceptability. I heard at the live sport event over the weekend, Wizkid was bragging about his Grammy nomination. That's another one's in the works. So at least it's no longer a prayer to win Grammy again, like back in the days for Nigerian artists. They're already participating at the world stage. I'm happy about that.
Okay, let me start with Tems.
Tems,
interesting development. Temilade Okpeniyi, that's her name. Now she's going to be a brand ambassador for the clothing brand, Tommy Hilfiger, beginning from 2022. And I think it's a major achievement for her. Shortly after that song, Essence, between her and Wizkid, hit the waves. But I think what is important is about what is coming out of Africa from the younger generation, and particularly from Nigeria. If you look around Africa, Beyonce the other day, when she was going to make that big Grammy statement, recruited people from Nigeria, from Ghana, and you had all these upcoming stars in South Africa, in Tanzania, in Ghana, doing very well. Africa, giving back to the world, African artists, young persons, becoming part of the mainstream. And the discovery of Temilade Okpeniyi, I think, is also a very good development. So congratulations to her. And this coming shortly after that drama at the O2 Arena, where Wizkid, himself a genius, was trying to hold something meant for adults. But okay, that's on the side. Yeah. Okay, but I mean, they got over that. Yes. It was great performance, great theater. But she's doing very well. Another star to look at is A-Star, Tiwa Savage. Yeah. Burna Boy is already out there. And Davido, of course. Is the billion category superstar. So it's very good for culture. But what are we doing as a country for these young people who are showing that with creativity, with innovation, they can be great ambassadors for the country or for the continent? Companies look at them and give them opportunities, either in technology or in other aspects. What is Nigeria doing to reproduce them, to increase their population, to create a community that produces only geniuses that can project both the country and the continent? I do not see a lot being done in that regard. Yes, you talked about, what was that again? Unemployment rate.
Okay, in Ghana.
In Ghana.
Almost tripling.
Yes, tripling over a 10-year period. Okay. Have you looked at Nigerian figures? Because when you bring these examples, I say, okay, you have to do your job monitoring Africa. Yeah. But if you look at Nigeria, there was a time the unemployment rate in Nigeria was over 20%. And that's not far off. When we're talking about skyrocketing unemployment rate. Okay. So if you want to look at it from a comparative sense, is Ghana better positioned to deal with its unemployment crisis, both under unemployment and actual unemployment, than Nigeria? I think now we've fallen a bit. We've gone back to about 15.41%. So these are issues that countries will deal with, that leadership will deal with, as they move from one phase to the other. But how do you address those issues? If you want to compare Ghana and Nigeria, what are those indicators that you will look at? Is it safer to walk around on the streets of Accra or Tema in Ghana than to walk around the streets of Onitsha and Lagos at night? In one place, you could get kidnapped. In another place, you probably will go to club and come back. So we have to learn lessons. So it's good we compare these things, but we have to look at the subtext. Indeed. The subtext is more important to me than actual figures.
Agreed.
All right, thank you so much, Rotus, this morning. Moving on now, we'll talk to Michael Wilson from London for more business update. Good morning, Michael. Safe to say Merry Christmas in advance?
No, Christmas has been stolen by Grinch, particularly in England. Not so.
Not yet, it hasn't. You haven't seen our Christmas lunch that we're planning, but I'll come on to that maybe the next couple of days. Asia Pacific stocks down. China's cut its benchmark lending rate. 1-year loan prime rate's gone down from 3.85 to 3.8. Doesn't sound a lot, but it's indicative of what's happening in that country. Elsewhere, the Nikkei 225 in Japan led losses among the region's major markets. It's obviously a foreshortened week because of the holidays. China's central bank, therefore, cuts its key benchmark rate for the first time since the pandemic. Now, this is important because it affects corporate and household loans as well. Last week, the central bank decided to reduce the amount that banks actually need to cover to use as a cushion. And China was the first economy to shake off the pandemic, but this year it's been dragged down again. Beijing's zero-tolerance policy for controlling subsequent outbreaks and tighter regulations, particularly in the real estate sector, which we've covered in a lot of detail. No big particular news about that. We still await repayment of those debts there. As far as the United States is concerned, stock futures fell ahead really of this rather shortened week, a losing week last week. Again, investors trying to grapple with what's actually happening with this new variant of COVID. Major averages are coming off again as a result of a negative week, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ composite dropped nearly 3%. People have actually moved to more staple stocks like food and so on. JP Morgan, this is an interesting one, hit by £200 million fine for allowing its employees to use WhatsApp to evade regulators' reach. Now, I do find this extraordinary and something which is supposed to be governed by the SEC. The SEC has said that JP Morgan acknowledged its employers use personal devices to send text, WhatsApp messages and emails about company business. How on earth does a company like that allow that to happen? As far as the UK is concerned, you won't need me to tell you about the political ructions going on here. David Frost has gone. Now Liz Truss has added to her considerable portfolio. She's not only Foreign Secretary and in charge of women's inequality, but she's also overseeing the EU-UK trade talks, particularly the complicated business about Northern Ireland and so on. Good luck to her. And she's being seen as a rival for Boris Johnson. UK COVID businesses alarmed at the increase of maybe further restrictions. You've got the chief medical officer saying one thing, you've got the chancellor saying something else, you've got the prime minister saying something else, and you've got the health secretary saying something else. The message is very, very unclear. Nobody really wants to make a judgment until medical advice is, as they put it, challenged. How do you challenge medical advice if you're not a medical person? I've no idea. But anyway, that's what they're saying. Rishi Sunak, the chancellor, is weighing up whether or not to bring a kind of cash and maybe cutting taxes towards hospitality and so on. A lot of other industries probably would be crying as well. How do you choose one sector above others? Well, that's the job for politicians. UK shoppers avoided the high street. It's supposed to be a big spending this weekend, the last weekend before Christmas. They didn't. They went to shopping centres and shopped online. They avoided the high streets because of Omicron. They're not actually sure what's going to happen about that. Neither is anybody else in the world. Goldman's once again come up with this forecast of $100. Now, originally, earlier this year, they were forecasting it to be $100 a barrel by the end of this year. Now they're saying it could hit $100 a barrel in 2 years' time. How do they know such a thing? Anyway, that's they're predicting that may be a possibility. Oil demand at record levels, though, before the latest Omicron variant hit, and air travel should build up again. So I think that seems to be pushing them. How on earth you make a forecast 2 years out defeats me. But anyway, that for the fact of it, that's what Goldman's are saying this morning. And the gold price now. Again, it's pressuring up through $1,800. It did go below that. The challenges are pretty obvious, aren't they? I mean, will the US stimulus work? What about coronavirus and all the rest of it? What about Fed rate hike, and when's that going to happen? But at the time of writing, it's about it was a low of 1798 last night. It's now pushing up to 1802. That's your global view this morning.
All right. I mean, those pressures, those uncertainties in the market, definitely a lot of people are running to gold. But two things. I'll talk about the Conservative Party and the future of Boris Johnson vis-a-vis business. A wing in the Conservative Party is saying that this was not the Brexit they signed up for, that Boris Johnson is increasing taxes, that they thought Britain will be some form of tax haven, under this Brexit thing going on. But that's not the case. So they're trying so hard to reconcile it. And there's a lot of brickbat as regards that going on in the party, and probably that might affect the future of Boris Johnson. On the other side of that, you were talking about projections that air travel will return very soon, maybe in a couple of years. But Airbus, one of the largest plane makers, have short supplied on the demands for single-aisle aircraft, that could do short-haul flights. Airbus can't churn out those planes because of logistical problems. There's short supply on those demands, and we're thinking of the airline industry resurgence. I mean, how do you juxtapose both thoughts?
First of all, airlines. We noted last week, did we not, that Qantas has ordered a considerable number of new Airbus aircraft and has put an option on ordering many more at the expense of Boeing. So I feel as though the air industry is probably quite right in thinking it won't be soon. I don't think 2 years is soon. As I'm saying, I think 2 years is a long way ahead to predict, but I feel as though air travel will probably pick up. It's probably going to have to one way or the other. It may not be in Europe, but it may be in other ways as well. And that will put a demand on oil, which pleases all oil producers. That's what Goldman's apparently are actually saying. How they, again, manage to make a forecast 2 years from now, I do not know. But I mean, that's what they say. I report it simply as that. As far as the Conservatives are concerned, I mean, it's a good job there's a Christmas break coming up, quite honestly. Parliament may get recalled this week to talk about more crackdown measures to try to have and they were talking about this thing called a circuit breaker, which would close everything for a couple of weeks just after Christmas in order to try to come to terms with Omicron. But as again, conflicting advice. Nobody really knows what's going on anywhere in the world. Nobody's an expert on Omicron. It hasn't had time to be measured properly yet. So we face that rather uncertain future.
Well, very quickly, Michael, Liz Truss, Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, is taking over the negotiations on the Northern Ireland Protocol with Lord Frost stepping down. What are we likely to see, especially considering the fact that Liz Truss in 2016 was a Remainer? Okay, would there be any radical difference, or is this a disaster, or is it an opportunity to reset the button with regard to the negotiations over the Northern Ireland Protocol? Evergrande, the Chinese authorities have tried to step in now. They've taken over more or less, trying to sell off the assets of the owner. What is likely to happen? What is the extent of the damage that we should expect, particularly with regard to the interests of foreign investors, bondholders, who may see this as a major hit, failure now confirmed on the real estate sector in China. And then finally, U.S. Federal Reserve, the guys there have been very bearish. They are talking now about, they've been hawkish. They are talking about changing interest rates by next year. Are they coming to the party late? Is this imitation or a reality that they cannot do without?
As I reported last week, the Fed, according to the dot charts, which are drawn from the various members of the Federal Reserve of that committee, is actually pointing to the market took it 3 interest rate rises next year, very gradual ones. Late to the party, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult, this, isn't it? What they've publicly said is that they're trying to assess the impact of lower employment and lower growth. Neither of those things is happening in the United States right now. So I think they feel as though they've kind of fielded it slightly by this taper asset, increasing the curve towards tapering that out. And they'll think of interest rates early next year, interest rate rises early next year, but not by a lot. As far as Liz Truss is concerned, look, I don't get involved in politics. I don't know. You're quite right. She was a Remainer in 2016. Maybe she'll bring a bit of mollifying to the discussions about Northern Ireland with the EU. It's known that Johnson, the Prime Minister, actually mollified his approach very, very slightly by saying that he would not necessarily insist on the European Court of Justice, the ECJ, the European Court of Justice, having a direct say in these negotiations. He's moved slightly away from that. She is a tough negotiator, no question about that. She's been burnishing her image over the past couple of months, and she's certainly going to be a player. She although she's a Remainer, I think her view of Europe, and again, I'm not a political expert, but I'm looking at it from the outside, seems to have got slightly harsher. There is no point in going to a negotiating table with giving in mind. You go there in as strong a position as you can. That's pretty obvious. As far as Evergrande's concerned, I still continue with the view, as I always have, that what's being managed behind the scenes is a gradual demolition. Whether investors have to take a haircut, well, they'll have to cope with that as China begins its transition to 2049 to become a communist state again. I mean, we know that's going on. The president has already said that.
Okay, so you agree with the view that this is not quite a Lehman moment for China, and that the comparison with the Lehman Brothers case may be misplaced?
No, I don't think so. It's not comparable with that. What it is, it's a collapse of a particular sector that was allowed to grow far too fast. And as Rufai has often said, you know, this place, it's got lots of empty apartments. It grew far too large and far too quickly, and now it's facing a collapse. I'm not sure. I mean, layman collapse, but I don't think it's the same kind of thing at all. I think you're looking at a construction company which is not taking overriding bets on its future by just not actually completing its business model properly. And for that reason, I feel as though the Chinese authorities are coming in and dismantling it slowly.
Thank you, Michael.